Hi, Mako.
Hey, good to see you, Julia.
Good to see
Uh,
you too. How are you?
I'm good. Today it's a little cold in Princeton. It was like four seasons in one day yesterday. It was really hot and then it started snowing late in the afternoon. So yeah, it's been crazy.
Wow. We're having unseasonable weather here right now too. It's
Okay.
going to get into the 90s today.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's very warm for this time of year.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And you're in California, so uh,
Yeah.
we're spanning the United States in
Yeah.
this conversation. Two artists talking about various things.
Yes. And it's important to remain aware of the natural world. I read an article that talked about what the shift that happened in culture when we went from naming roads after the natural phenomenon of the area to naming roads after people.
Interesting. When was that?
I don't remember. I
Yeah,
wish I read it quickly
yeah,
and then it so hit me, but I didn't catalog it.
yeah. So
I'll have to see if I can find it to share
okay.
with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
But
what happens when we make that shift?
we lose our sense of place in the world
Wow.
and we lose out on the importance of natural observation.
Interesting.
So it's a disorienting experience when we name it for the temporality of life rather than the orientating effect of the landscape.
Wow. That it reminds me of what Wendell Berry may have said about a place and how I'm here in Princeton. I'm surrounded by uh, this is a natural preserve in front of me, um, and I miss the land when I'm gone. Uh, it's almost like you're missing a person.
Yes. Yes. And you come to know the land as a person or as something with personality,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah, totally. And it took me actually many years. I lived in New York City before that and never lived in a place like this. So I have not gardened or anything like that. So it took me like 3 years to really start to even see the land. As you mentioned, some distinct, d- distinct reality that this land uniquely holds, and I became very aware of the changes that a land will go through, um, and I continue to discover new things about what I'm observing. So it is something that I've learned to appreciate, being here um, now over close to 15 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the longer you live in a place, the more you are able to notice the nuance. Right
Yeah.
now, go ahead.
No, no, I was gonna say we just had spring peepers come out. I don't know what you know what they are. They're little frogs that really first sign of the spring. They come out of their little holes and they start literally peeping, and it's like a chorus. So in the early evenings, this place is filled with the actually very beautiful sound of spring peepers, and I look forward to that every spring. But because of what happened yesterday, there was the sudden um, cold front that came. Um, I think they went back into their holes, and so there was no peeper sound.
Yes. And who knows, you might hear them again next week,
Well, I
once.
heard them this morning. I think they were like
Oh,
ready to come out. So they were, a little bit warmer. It's still cold. The wind is still cold, but I heard them this morning, so I was happy.
So they're still all safe.
Yes, yes. I mean, they've been through this before, right? I mean, there's always, snowstorms in April and so forth. So I'm sure there's this mechanism that they go through. But it's a remarkable thing to think, these little creatures have. It's so abundant here because we're surrounded by two streams, and that for ages this has been going on, and for me, it's because we long for spring to come, and especially living in a such time as this, it really feels like the weight of darkness of the winter is much more um, weighty, and so I feel like you see little signs of spring, whether it be Lenten roses coming up or crocuses or peepers. It just impacts you psychologically, I think, even more now.
Yeah. Looking for all those signs of life.
Yeah.
That reminder, like outside of whatever humans are doing, the natural world is continuing.
Yeah, and I heard in California that in the deserts, these flowers that are just popping up because of the rain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, it's amazing how much is blooming here right now. Um, there's wisteria. I'm not in the desert proper, but just
Yeah,
in my local neighborhood,
yeah,
we're at the end of camellia season.
yeah.
The freesia is blooming, the
Yes,
wisteria is blooming.
yes.
Um, I heard a report from the Huntington Garden, which is relatively close by, that
Hmm.
some of their roses have even bloomed early. That
Oh my.
normally doesn't happen until
Mm.
April,
Yeah,
but they've started blooming early because we're having this heat right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
So there's just, and we're also at the tail end of citrus season, and so all the citrus blossoms are happening. So orange blossom and lemon blossom, and
Yeah.
it's perfuming the air in the most
Oh
beautiful
my God.
way.
Yeah,
Even as you walk past a house, you
yeah,
might not be able to see the tree because it's in a fenced back garden or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
but you can smell it.
yeah, yeah. Isn't that something?
And it's that reminder that like the things unseen are happening
Yeah, yeah.
in a positive way, not just
Right.
in a negative way.
Right, right, absolutely. And does that affects your work in any way?
I'm sure that it does. It gives such hope. It gives such encouragement. As you were saying, when you hear those peepers, you're like, winter is going to come to an end. We are going to persevere in the midst, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think with even the smallest fraction of hope, we're prompted to continue the work.
right. And in some ways, right, that what we do as artists um, is to capture that longing, right? So
Mm,
even in wintertime, when I was thinking about the darkness that you're going through, or fractures that you see in the world. Obviously we long for a place of abundance and hope. But even if that is lacking, can we as artists, um, perhaps begin to describe that world, but being realistic, right? You're not just trying to fix what is missing, but you're pressing into
mhm,
what is not there, the emptiness or longing. And I've been thinking a lot about that, obviously, of recent events, but also because of nature of how my work has become more intentionally about things that you cannot name or things that you cannot obviously see, but there's an aroma
Yes.
behind it.
Yes. And so as you're working on that, are you thinking about the expression of your heart's experience? Or are you thinking of how it's going to be received? Or maybe some combination of both?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what happens for me is that the materials themselves dictate the
Yes.
direction, and I'm trying to live in that in between zone, um, which is uncomfortable because you don't know the answers to the question you just asked. um, what is this for? Who is this for? Why am I doing this? Is it for a purpose? Is it for some kind of transaction? And I have pulled away from that, especially of late, and trying to live in that very uncomfortable state and allowing the materials to speak. And obviously, because we have been at this a long time as artists, we are connected with our materials. And there's this certain type of somatic knowledge that is so intuitive that it bypasses your rational side. So it sometimes it is as if you discover the question when you're working, but
Yes.
you're also aware of the process, right? The process is very important because you have to be honest to it. And if something is weighing on you, then obviously you want to be aware of that, to be present with it, not to ignore it or to cast it aside as something that is, uh, you know, um, irrelevant to what you're doing. You, I have learned to press into that and to say, okay, so this is what the reality seems. But is there a threshold to this? Is there a way to be honest to what I am doing, especially in terms of use of my materials? And can that create a portal, first for me, to enter into what is the discovery here that I can make? And as you know, we learn to limit materials. So there's a certain reality to the materials we have chosen over the years. Um, and it's as if the materials are part of us,
Mhm.
um, and the orientations of what we love, right? And there's a affinity to it that is heightened, um, because of those questions, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. In some ways, as I work, it's the question shows up. It's
Mhm.
an interior dialogue that I'm not even aware of. And then as I do the work, I'm like, oh, yes, this is the question I'm asking, or this is the answer to the question that I didn't know I was asking.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it kind of processing is happening, but you're not aware rationally, rational side.
yes.
It takes time to catch up. And there may be people listening to this and saying, like, what are they talking about? Like, this is like strange. This is not like efficiency.
No, this is not a spreadsheet. We're not trying to solve for X.
So what is that, Julia? What is that
I
reality that we live in?
I think it's a type of intuition, as you've mentioned, right?
Mhm.
And a type of innate affinity. When I
Yeah.
think about
Mhm.
my materials, I still remember the first day I encountered the paper that I work with.
Yeah.
It was placed in my hand by Tanya Butler. God
Uh,
bless that woman. She is
yeah,
a remarkable artist, and
yeah,
I had the privilege of having her as my professor.
yeah,
And I was in the advanced printmaking class, and she was talking about the qualities of this paper.
yeah.
And it wasn't, as you know, she is demure, right? And not
Very-
particularly
yeah,
effusive and
no.
kind of antithetical to how I operate in the world, right? But she was specific
Yeah,
when she outlined the details of this paper
yeah,
and how she had experienced what it could do.
yeah,
And then I felt it
yeah,
in my hands.
yeah.
And then I put it in a water bath and it came out and I
Mhm,
printed with it. And
mhm.
it was like, done. I do not need anything else
Yeah,
to
yeah,
work on ever.
yeah.
And people have questioned and said, well, why do you use that paper? It doesn't align with the imagery that you produce. You should use something much more ephemeral. And
Right.
I'm like, but ephemeral work couldn't, ephemeral looking work
Hmm.
wouldn't be produced in the same way if it wasn't for this paper, this foundation.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's that material constraint that you're talking about,
Hmm.
but it's also that moment of like connection, that paper in my hands. And while I remember that moment and that's special, it was also the tangibleness and then the working with it and doing an independent study with Shelley Bradbury in which I just worked with the paper and ink and was given freedom to explore,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. What
Hmm.
is the element of freedom that we allow in our work?
Yeah.
What how has that developed? How does that run as in some ways the foundation of the work?
Hmm.
Giving yourself freedom to be an artist, giving yourself freedom to be generative
Hmm.
in destructive culture, calling out and saying, we can do this differently
Yeah.
instead of moving and placing energy on destruction. Let's grow the garden.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. That, my goodness, there's integrity to everything you're speaking of. And I not only understand that deeply, but, I think you're articulating something that's very important for everyone. That there's this embeddedness in creation that calls out to us to be faithful to it. And for us artists, we do have that particular path of through materials that we encountered or um, a way of looking at the world, or type of practice that we have aligned ourselves to over the years. But even for non-artists, they can also inhabit that place, whether it be gardening, cooking, or any kind of creative activity, right? That calls us into this very specific type of work that
Mhm.
seems to fit who we are and our temperaments and our giftings, and artists are any type of artist, whether you're watching a modern dancer, practice, rehearse, or actor go through their lines, or watching a filmmaker make a film. There's this particularity to it, right? There's a very specific way that particular person has approached this medium, and that we can all learn from.
Yes.
We will certainly be inspired by, but specific ways that those practices can feed into the fragmentation that we are experiencing, the despair that we carry. There's something about this that is so important for time. And as you noted, because there's so much destruction, um, weighing upon us, we can lose hope and say, well, that's the way world is. But really, every moment there is reality in front of us that is calling us into this what you're describing as this creativity or um, being present in that creative practice.
Mm. Yeah. So what are you working on?
So I have been catching up. I'm waiting for canvases to arrive. Actually, I have a commission, so I order some canvases and whenever I have a commission, and you order canvases for a particular size, I always double or triple it because chances are if you have a commission, um, that's a appropriate size for a certain room, typically. So I always think, well, I can do another one because you go through the process of preparing the materials and so forth. So I order three canvases and then I'm getting the materials ready. Once it arrives in May, I'll be ready to go. But then I thought, well, you're shipping these canvases because they're particular canvases um, that is done in a particular way, prepared with things that I work with the canvas makers. Um, so it's a lot of work, and you create it and ship it as if it's a museum show, even though I haven't painted on it. So I decided to order more. You see these large canvases behind me, but I wanted to also do a series of these what I call musical spheres series of paintings, and so I have been planning, not executing them yet because a lot of people don't realize how much time it takes to plan something, especially in my case, you're using minerals, right? That I can only get prepared in Japan. So when I go in April, next month, I'm going specifically to a very specific place and people that I've worked with to prepare these pigments for a particular task and for a particular reason. So I'm already thinking ahead on how to um, actualize the plan. And so by the time, when I actually get to paint it, I'll probably paint it outside because the size is such that it'll be hard to move around. So, pick a nice dry day here and and then actually execute the image that I've been thinking about. So a lot of planning right now.
Yeah. I think as you were talking, I was thinking about like chefs waiting for a season for a vegetable,
Yes,
you know?
growing them.
But also when you're talking about the pigments, like thinking about how they're going to be processed so that the edges will refract a certain way
Yes.
and the right density
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so many factors, right? That you learn to control over the years. When you start out, you have no idea of the questions that you need to ask. Where you think it's the way you work and I work. It's very we're intentionally limiting,
Yeah.
right, materials and how we work the paper you choose. And so we're like narrowing down to a pinhole, and then there's infinite amount of options after
Yeah.
this. And that's the amazing thing. Like there's like after having like 30 years of experience working with this particular type of material with this type of surface, I still don't know what's going to happen. Right? There's just this infinite amount of mystery going into something. And when I think I was younger, I wanted to eliminate those kind of margins because, you know, I I wanted to execute it and I wanted to do it right and I wanted to match what I was planning with the execution of it. But as I've gotten more experienced, I wondered for many years this, and I'm thinking about this right now, is like how much of once you eliminated possibilities, right? You've done the hard work of selecting your materials to narrowing down your ideas, then you're kind of like free to expand at that point, right? There's this jumping off into the abyss, like this, you just don't know what's going to happen, and that sense of diving in, like you're standing on the edge, it seems like such a potent place to be,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a luxury, right? That anybody can do this. So I'm starting to think, well, what if instead of being fearful of what might happen, what if you embrace it? You just dive in, and you let the materials carry you, you let your experience carry you, and just go on an adventure to see what that might create.
Yeah. There's that inverse infinity
Yeah,
effect
yeah,
that you're talking about. And
yeah.
yeah, go, let the current carry.
So, so I'll let you know how it goes. It might be a total dud. That happens too, but
It happens,
yeah,
and you learn in that moment.
yeah, exactly, exactly. There's no waste because, and that's another thing you learn is if you're open and present, to that reality of something being birthed, something that opens up. Um, there's really no mistake there because it is a threshold that you just crossed and you may not understand it at first and you may struggle to in the sense of language like what is it, what is this doing, but isn't that the best place to be when you're creating anything. And it may take time for that which you created to make sense to you.
Mhm.
But that's okay too, so you want to give yourself enough time so that you're not you're not finishing your sentence too early. You're letting it kind of go open-ended for a while. And of course, your materials, my materials take time to settle anyways. So that's an advantage too, that you can't, finish, so to speak, even when you're done with the surface. You want to let it sit for a while to let it speak back to you.
Yeah. It it trains out of me snap judgment, right? Because I'm like, oh, I don't like, oh, it's not right. And then
Right.
I'm like, no, it's not, it's not finished yet. It's still unfolding.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard though, sometimes, isn't it? Yeah, because we have prejudgment going on in our minds, and that's a good thing. You train that too, but at the same time, it's this opening up of something that is unexpected, that you want to welcome. Yeah,
Yes.
as a new
Yes.
discovery. Yeah.
And so remaining open to that,
The
saying,
radio open.
come, show me something.
Yeah. And, going back to people who may not understand this language, that well, wondering like, well, what are these people talking about? I think these kind of conversations help us to
Hmm.
live life in general,
Yes.
because life is an artwork that we cannot control. We do not know what the next day will hold. And if anybody tells you they know what's going to happen in 6 months, you know that to be uh, wrong. I mean, look back 6 months and see where we were, and would you have predicted today? Um, and people try to make those predictions, but because they're obsessed with certainty, and certainties will give us certain comfort, right? If you know rationally what's going to happen, but life doesn't work like that. And it's the artist, right, that dares to open up these possibilities, that says it's okay not to know. It's okay to find a way. In our case, we are privileged to work with materials that we have mastered, so that there's infinite possibilities, there's reverse infinity happening, and um, that can happen with life. And the same kind of attentiveness and being present, especially when you love someone,
Mm.
is so important. And not to prejudge, as you know, not to finish your sentences too early, but to be on the listening side, to be filled with curiosity and wonder, and ask open-ended questions. Let's go on an adventure, rather than, I thought I came to do this, but uh, this is leading into something else. And, that's a wonderful thing.
Mhm. Yes, it is a wonderful thing that we have room for all of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 And, we don't have to understand it, and even fear something, but that can be something we press into,
Mhm.
and understand that there's something beyond the threshold,
Mm.
that might give us something that we never thought about, or perhaps we grow into that, and and to discover a new language, that we can speak on behalf of those, perhaps, doesn't have the luxury that we do, of um, having the agency to
Mm.
create something new into the world. So this is a conversation about that as well.
Definitely. Here's to more agency for all.
Uh, that's right, and that's what we need. Everybody being an artist, finding their pinhole, and then seeing the world that is upside down, but clear, right? And then if we can share that, that will be a wonderful thing, and that's what we mean by culture care.
Yeah. And I venture to say that you expound on this a bit more in Beauty and Justice with Heijen.
That's right. Yeah, it's coming out. We're excited about it. We've been on this kind of a podcast. We've been interviewed every day almost, and it's been wonderful to talk about it. Again, it's just such a huge topic of bringing beauty and justice together, and it's such a privilege every time a question may come, um, to reach into it, and our journey has become uh, one of mystery and pressing into certainly the unknown and the challenges of what people are faced with and in uh, you know marginalized places, slums of the world, and I think there's something that I've regained as an artist of this appreciation also for everything we talked about on this conversation.
So good. And I remembered the source for the
Ah,
naming of things. It was an Instagram caption.
okay.
It wasn't a paper record, but it was
Yeah,
somebody's lived experience with Native First Nations indigenous
right,
knowledge.
right. That makes sense. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because yeah, you forget how much the land can name you,
Yes.
right? Rather than the other way around, like we give our names to a highway, but that's kind of like very limited way of seeing the world, you know?
It's one perspective, right? And
Yeah,
here we are trying for the infinite.
that's right. There you go.
So good
Uh,
to talk to you,
Good to
Mako.
talk to you, and blessings on your continued journey into culture care.
Take care.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.